The title officer paused when my brother blamed me for a fee his own email had delayed. My brother tried to turn our grandmother's condo sale into a lesson about my reliability at the closing meeting, which was rich because he was the one who caused the only real delay. Grandma Helen moved into assisted living after a mild stroke in February. The condo had to be cleaned out and sold. My mother became the owner after the transfer, but she hates paperwork and shuts down when people start talking in official voices. I live closest, so I handled the practical parts. Cleaners, realtor access, HOA emails, spare keys. It just made me useful enough to blame. The meeting was at the title company because the buyer wanted one final addendum signed before funding. Mom was there. My brother Scott came in late with coffee and that careful face he uses when he wants to sound reasonable while setting someone up. The title officer, Miss Hines, had the settlement packet ready. Instead, Scott said, before anyone signed, he wanted clarity on why I had nearly cost Mom the sale by ignoring the resale certificate deadline. Mom looked at me. Miss Hines stopped turning pages. Scott said the buyer's side had been chasing documents for days, and if he had not stepped in, we would have missed the closing window. Then he added that this was why families should not confuse living nearby with being capable. That landed how he wanted. My aunt, on speakerphone, asked what happened. Scott said I sat on the HOA paperwork until the buyer started talking penalties. I said that was false. The resale certificate only gets released after the owner signs an authorization and the document fee is paid. Mom asked Scott to cover the fee until closing because he kept saying he wanted to help more. On Monday, I emailed him the authorization and the HOA request. He replied, "I'll handle the fee tonight." He did not. Tuesday morning, the HOA manager wrote that the certificate was still pending because payment had not been received. At 2:17 that afternoon, after I called Scott twice, he finally paid it. The certificate was sent 40 minutes later. I had the full email chain in my folder because the realtor told me never to walk into a title office without the paperwork. I handed the printed thread to Miss Hines. She read the Monday email, then Scott's reply, then the HOA notice, then the payment receipt. She asked why he had described the delay as my failure when the packet showed the certificate had been waiting on his payment. Nobody spoke. Mom held out her hand for the pages. Scott's line was right there in writing. "I'll handle the fee tonight." Under it was the HOA email saying, "Unpaid request pending." Under that was his Tuesday payment confirmation. That was the room change. Now, this was not me nearly tanking the sale through incompetence. It was Scott missing a fee he volunteered to handle, then walking into closing trying to pin the stress on the sibling already doing the work. Scott said he delayed because he wanted to verify the amount. Miss Hines said the amount was listed in the original HOA request. My aunt asked why he had spent 2 days telling relatives I was disorganized if he knew the certificate had been waiting on him. Mom finally said, "Because he wanted me nervous before distribution." Scott had already asked Mom for an early advance from the sale proceeds to cover back taxes on his truck. If he made me look unreliable around closing, he became the competent son by comparison. Miss Hines slid the wire page toward Mom and asked who she wanted copied on all post-closing notices. Mom said, "Only me." Then she told Scott there would be no early transfer, no emergency loan, and no more speaking for her in paper situations. We still signed. The condo still sold. But Scott lost the one thing he came in trying to secure, which was authority over the story. Once the authorization thread and payment receipt were on the table, nobody in that office could pretend I had endangered the sale. He had delayed it, then tried to wear my face over the delay.